We have to read the Bible in terms of its covenantal development. So there are many covenants mentioned in the Bible, but for our purposes here, there's an old covenant made with Israel. That covenant made with Israel, they had certain requirements. And those requirements that were given to Israel set them apart from the nations. It distinguished Israel from the nations. So we have an old covenant, and then we have a new covenant in Jesus Christ. That new covenant is prophesied in Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 36, other passages as well. When we read the whole Bible, when we read the Old Covenant in light of the New, we see that that Old Covenant has passed away. Christians are no longer under the Old Covenant. They are no longer under the stipulations, the commands, the prescriptions in that Old Covenant. The New Covenant is new. So none of the commands, I would argue, none of the commands in the Old Testament are binding in and of themselves, because that whole covenant has passed away as a package. We're under the new covenant entirely.
God's laws never went away. In fact, his laws are forever. The only law that went away, brothers and sisters, is the law of sacrifice. In the Old Testament, they used to cut rams' heads and goats' heads as an atonement for their sins. When Christ came on the scene, that went away. Not all the other stuff. Thou shalt not kill didn't go away. Thou shalt not
Commit adultery.
That didn't go away. None of God's laws went away. Only cutting animals' heads, that went away.
I am the punishment of God. And if you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Crushing Christian Views. We're going to get right into it. There are a lot of people, our people, that believe the Old Testament and the New Testament says two different things, which I've been hearing this all my life. And, you know, now that I've come into the truth and other people I know that come into the truth, we clearly see that the New Testament is an abbreviation of the Old Testament. And so we're going to get started. We're going to go into one of our favorite chapters in the Bible, Romans 9. We're going to start at verse 11. Brother Derek is going to read that for us.
All right. This is Romans chapter 9, verse 11. For the children being not yet born.
For the children being not yet born. Understand this, brothers and sisters. For the children being not yet born. Go ahead, Derek.
For the children being not yet born, neither have he done any good or evil.
They haven't done any good or evil. Nothing. They haven't done anything yet. Go ahead.
That the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth.
Verse 13.
Verse 13. As it is written.
As it is written. So what Derek is getting ready to read, it was already written somewhere. Go ahead.
All right. This is Romans chapter 9, verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
So Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Now in verse 11, God tells us, for the children being not yet born. He already hated Esau before he was born, because God created all of our spirits and he know our spirits. So he knew Esau's spirit. But we're going to go in the Old Testament and show you as it is written. We'll go to Malachi chapter 1.
All right. This is Malachi chapter 1, verse 2. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob. Verse 3. And I hated Esau.
And I hated Esau. So in the New Testament, Romans chapter 9, where it says, as it is written in verse 13, that's where it's written in the Old Testament. Go ahead.
And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness.
So let's see. Let's go to Matthew. Who's that? Matthew 4. Okay, 4. Got a little tongue tied there. Matthew chapter 4. So we're going to continue showing you the things that you read in the New Testament are found in the Old Testament. Go ahead.
All right. This is Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And this is Matthew chapter 4, verse 4. But he answered and said, it is written.
It is written.
Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
So Christ says, as it is written, man shall not live by bread alone. Where is that written? We have to go to the Old Testament and find out. Deuteronomy chapter 8. So we're going to go into Deuteronomy chapter 8, and we're going to continue giving this to you guys and let you, so that you understand that the New Testament is an abbreviated version of the Old Testament.
All right. This is Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone.
There it is right there. Man do not live by bread alone. We read it in the New Testament. We just read it in the Old Testament. Now let's go back to the New Testament. What's next? Romans?
Romans 3.
Oh, Romans 3. Okay, we're going to Romans 3. We're going to read from Romans 3, and then we're going to go find the Old Testament, the things that are said in this chapter in Romans 3. We're going to go right to the Old Testament and show you the same thing.
All right, this is Romans chapter 3, verse 10. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one.
Is that it on that?
Yeah.
So as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. So we're going to go in the Old Testament and find out where that's written. That would be Psalms 14. We're going to go to Psalms 14. So we're going to go right through this, brothers and sisters. We're going to give you the layout. We're going to show you what it says in the New Testament, and then we're going to show you the cross-reference in the Old Testament. Psalms 14.
All right, this is Psalms chapter 14, verse 3. They are all gone aside. They are all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one.
It says the same thing because righteousness and the word good means the same thing in the Bible. So read that one more time. The last part.
All right. This is Romans chapter 4, verse 3. There is none that doeth good, no, not one.
Okay, and then we just read from Psalms 14, Psalms chapter 14, verse 3. I'll read that. They are all gone aside. They are all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Same thing, folks. It says the same thing. So let's go to Mark. We're going to go to Mark 1. We're going to keep giving it to you, brothers and sisters, so that you understand the New Testament and the Old Testament belongs in the same book. What's that, Mark?
Yep.
Okay, Mark 1.
All right, so this is Mark chapter 1, verse 1. The beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And this is verse 2. As it is written in the prophets.
As it is written in the prophets.
Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee.
Which shall prepare thy way before thee. Now we're going to go and see where that is in the Old Testament. We're going to go to Malachi chapter 3. See if we can pull it up here for you. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so as you see already, the New Testament and the Old Testament says the same thing, especially when you're reading the New Testament and it says, as it is written. It's always written in the Old Testament because the Old Testament and New Testament is the same book.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
This is Malachi chapter 3, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in, behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts.
Is that it on that?
Yeah.
So as you can see, it says, behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. We just read that in the New Testament. Let's see, what do we have next?
Romans 11.
We're going to read Romans 11, and then we're going to go to the Old Testament to prove what's written in Romans 11 is written in the Old Testament.
All right. This is Romans chapter 11, verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Sion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
Okay, did you all hear that? There shall come out of Sion a deliverer, and he shall turn all sins, right, from Jacob. Jacob is Israel, by the way. So now we're going to go into the Old Testament and see where it is written. What's that, Isaiah?
Yep.
Isaiah 59. Yeah, we're going to keep giving it to you, brothers and sisters, because we want you to have the understanding. Look, when Christ cracks the sky, he's going to crack the sky. He's going to deliver us into the wilderness, and we're going to be expected to know some of this stuff. Now, of course, once we're in the wilderness, God is going to teach us all things. But he expects us, when we come into the deliverance, into the wilderness, he expects us to know this stuff. Go ahead.
All right. This is Isaiah chapter 59, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith the Lord.
Says the same thing. The last verse we read from the New Testament, it says the same thing about the deliverer, which is Christ. What's next?
Matthew 24.
Okay, we're going to go to Matthew 24 and see what's going on there. Matthew 24. See what Jesus is saying in Matthew 24. All right, Matthew 24.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 29.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Okay, you guys, brothers and sisters, did you hear that? Now we're going to go to the Old Testament and see if it says the same thing that Christ just said in Matthew 24. And that would be Joel. Yep. So we're going to go to Joel chapter 2 and see what Joel chapter 2 says.
All right, this is Joel chapter 2, verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark.
Uh-oh.
And the stars shall withdraw their shine.
Same thing from the New Testament that Jesus just said in Matthew 24 is said in Joel 2, verse 10. So on that note, brothers and sisters, unless my super producers got questions for me.
Yeah, so it's safe to say, because people argue, they say that God's laws went away.
Mm-hmm.
So on that, everything that was just read, it's safe to say, well, it's factual. God's laws never went away.
God's laws never went away. In fact, his laws are forever. The only law that went away, brothers and sisters, is the law of sacrifice. In the Old Testament, they used to cut rams' heads and goats' heads as an atonement for their sins. When Christ came on the scene, that went away. Not all the other stuff. Thou shalt not kill didn't go away. Thou shalt not
Commit adultery.
That didn't go away. None of God's laws went away. Only cutting animals' heads, that went away. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. Anything you got, D? Well, on that note, it was a short video, but we wanted to answer some questions that came to my attention about the Old Testament and the New Testament. And so we hope we helped you out, brothers and sisters. I'm sorry, not right.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. And shalom to you.
I am the punishment of God. And if you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you.